So, Em,
That's
how
me.
did you how did you spend your Friday night? Late.
Well, it started off with Yom Kippur services, and so Gemar Chatima Tova to anyone listening who is part of the chosen tribe. Um, and then after that, after settling in, after doing some reflection on my sins and atonement for the past year, and wishing to be inscribed in the Book of Life, I decided to fire up some of Vladimir Putin's favorite league and watch his beloved team. Because apparently, as Lincoln, who cannot be here, told us at like 11 p.m. last night, apparently there's this like Gabby Williams is 18 years old and plays in the Russian league now and is draft eligible.
It is like actually good.
Yes, just like I mean, given what has happened to that league since the invasion of Ukraine, this is basically as good as like the Adriatic League. And Lincoln, like right before we send in the board, he's like, "Wait, I got one more player," and she's like really good.
So we'll talk about her later. We'll also talk about Slovenia's Ajsa Sivka, France's Dominique Malonga, and some other top international prospects in this year's class.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome. You are logged on women's basketball. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name's Hunter Cruse. I'm your Saturday host covering the WNBA Draft and prospect scouting. Today, joined by my co-host, Em Adler, who covers the W with a focus on player development and the game within the game. We have 5 to 6-ish international prospects in this class. To start at the top, for you, Em, when you look at this international class, how does it compare? Like just overall, the depth, the top-end talent, to since we've started this in like 2020, when we had like Jade, Sivka Kone. How does this class compare through like the last 3 to 4 international classes for you?
I mean, that is actually a great question, and I think it depends on how you sort things, right? Because in 2021, the number one prospect, and the player who would have been the number one overall pick, if there was any draft situation other than Dallas had the number one and number two picks, was a Kuir. So you had an international player number one in that class. Again, 2022, we basically had two like we had two future fours, maybe threes. Yeah, probably threes because the quality in Jada and Sikakone. And then the past couple of years have been okay, but nothing special, I think. At least by historical standards. Last year had some high-end talent, but not a lot of depth. But this year, I think we don't have a Leila Lekan this year. We don't quite have a Carla Leite, but we do have a hell of a lot of players who could start in like 2026.
This depth is definitely the best since we've started doing this, I think.
Yeah.
Just like the depth. And my main takeaway is that international scouting, like the general managers in the front offices that take it seriously, are going to be set up so much better than the other
all three
teams.
of them.
Like 2026, the international class looks great. 2027 as well.
I mean,
there.
You're underselling it. 2026 and 2027 are classes that include multiple eights in total.
Possibly.
We're talking about like 2 8s and a 7 when it comes to those like two
of like Luka Doncic level international like teenagers.
Yeah, we are talking about the two best international prospects since LJ, and like also and like someone on like a Liz Cambage level of international prospect too.
Yeah, so
right?
to start with who we would probably have as a consensus as the top international prospect in this class is Ajsa Sivka. Sivka is just a tremendous prospect, like a 6'3". She's from Slovenia, so like the first Slovenian draft prospect in maybe decades to come to the W and be like an actual prospect. 6'3". Last season, she played in Spain for like one of the better teams, a EuroLeague club, and now is playing for Tarbes, who, if you aren't familiar, Tarbes had Carla Leite and Dominique Malonga last season. This season, they have Sivka as like their young prospect. For you, Em, when you look at this archetype, what is your overall impression?
Sivka wasn't in Spain last year. She was in Italy, right?
Oh, Italy. Yeah, Italy. Yeah, it was Italy.
Yeah, she wasn't just in Italy. She was playing for Familia Schio, who is like the dominant team on the peninsula. But yeah, I mean, when you watch her play, I mean, the first thing that stands out probably is the shooting. Like, players don't shoot like this. Players don't shoot like this at this height. Like, you basically have Leonie Fibic, and then there's like no other comp for this, because it's just she moves so well into the catch point. It is such a quiet release. She has, honestly, upper body form on her shots is maybe the best that we've seen since we started scouting, and we're up to 5 full classes now since we started. It's just such a quiet release. Her shoulders are so steady. Her footwork it's fine, but like she also just makes her own footwork irrelevant because of how well she transfers the power from her lower body to her upper body. And I mean, like, this is just like we've seen it against. We've seen this against, you know, lower levels Slovenian competition in the league over there. We've seen this against like the absolute top players in the world when they played Fener, when they played it was the top team in Spain. It's not Avenida anymore. Was the top team in Spain? It'll come to me later. But when they played them in Eurobasket last year, EuroLeague, we saw it against the top players in the country and some college players when she played in, I think, both U20. Yeah, it was both U20s and in the USA World Game this past year. She was arguably like the second best player in the USA World Game back in Portland in April. And now she's playing with some solid other players in the French league. And look, when you're in, it's not LFB anymore. When you're in BWL, like, you're playing legit competition, and we see what happens. And it's just like, it's so much fun, dude.
What was your impression on like the passing value for you? Like, what she could do like on ball as this like pick and roll operator?
Right. So like, there's only a couple times when I would actually describe a player or their skills as like startling. Sivka's passing is genuinely startling. Like, I'm still not used to it, and I've watched at least like 4 hours of film on her at this point. But like, the velocity she gets from angles with just one hand that you should not.
The offhand velocity with your offhand. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, like she is throwing like look off whip passes with like one hand around multiple defenders. Like, that shouldn't work. I don't know how you have the amount of okay, it's also really funny. I don't know how you have that amount of muscle to throw that, and also like you can't hold up in the post against a guard.
Yeah, you don't want her ever posting up, like, please.
Or being posted up.
She should, yeah. Like with Sivka.
Yeah, like I'd project her to be a fine post defender and project her to be a fine like change of pace post player. She's only 18, right? But like, it's just so funny the difference in what she is like physically strong at and not. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, my initial impression watching Sivka is Leonie Fibic. This is like Leonie Fibic with like even higher upside. Like, Fibic is, I don't think Fibic's fluidity on ball as like a shot creator and like as a playmaker, live dribble, is at this level, especially at her age. Like, I think Sivka is way more advanced than Fibic was whenever she was a young prospect, like in terms of like the production at a youth level, but also like playing for a top club as well. Like, Sivka had moments. There was one shot she hit guarded by, have you ever heard of her, Em Adler?
I mean, I think we may have talked about her before.
One-on-one isolation deep pull-up three.
Seems good.
18, just turning 18.
Yeah. Seems pretty solid. Em Adler, someone who just like, there was a game I think 1 year ago, where she blocked Candace and Sloot in ISO against the same team. It was crazy. But that it's interesting you say that. Like, obviously, I mean, you saw my face. I disagree overall because I agree offensively, and I think that is a very important distinction because definitely she has a lot more pick and roll chops at this point in time, and I think we've seen obviously seen flashes of a handle that suggests there could be enough of a driving game to make it pop. I think the defense is still a pretty like wide gap there. I project Sivka as a very good defender. That's why we have the grade on her that we do. And for those listening, the day this comes out, should see it tomorrow, I think. But like Sivka has a lot of good flashes. There's a lot of things she's very solid at. I'm not sure that I don't look at this and see like immediate plus defense.
Yeah, the reason I'm more optimistic about the defense is I don't think Phoebus, the expectation was for her to be this level of a defender. I don't think.
Well, I mean, we're the ones setting the expectations.
Yeah, but like I just think like at the age, I think like the major concerns is like footwork and like little things like that you'd probably say. Like the hip flexibility is good and like she moves well athletically on the perimeter. I probably buy like the off-ball stuff a little bit more than you probably. I don't think we're talking about like high impact defender, but like in a team context, being able to play like the three, switch a little bit. I think there's some versatility.
I mean, I think we both prefer at the 4, ideally.
Yeah,
right?
Probably at the 4.
Okay.
Probably the 4.
But yeah, she can definitely play 2 positions. Yes, she can definitely play 2 positions. I think, Phoebus can play 3. I don't know if I want Sivka playing 3 positions, but I mean, look, there's a lot of flashes here of like, I wouldn't be surprised if she was like we're not talking about a role 4 defender here. We're talking about like Phoebus is right now a role 6 defender, right? With like, but like a role 6 in like 3 completely different roles. Like Sivka, like I would probably project at this point like a role 555, but like again, if she hits like that role 6, I wouldn't be surprised at all. We have flashes of the solid defensive playmaking. We have flashes of, she makes very solid rotations on the back end. There are some concerns, I think, about the overhelp, about the screen navigation that are just like why it's a little hard to be as perimeter oriented on defense as she is on offense. But like I don't think that's an issue with where the league is right now, unless you're like playing Indiana.
Right. So after the break, we'll get into some other interesting prospects in this year's class. But first, a word from our sponsor. Game Time filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to search through thousands of tickets. You can get the lowest price guaranteed at Game Time, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time also offers all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What is it? Game Time. To kick off segment 2, let's talk about like maybe the most polarizing prospect we've had since we started doing this.
Oh, jeez.
Whenever we do our scouting grades, we have a consensus based on like all of our grades combined. And Malonga is Dominique Malonga out of France, 6'6". She's like the most hyped prospect in this year's class. Like in terms of like the raw athleticism, the
You say most hyped. We're the ones who set the hype.
No, I'm saying like she went viral like 4 years ago doing a drop step dunk from. Like,
did she actually?
Yes, yeah, she did.
I don't pay attention to that.
She did a drop step dunk, so like there's a little bit more hype there. Like it's the next Wemby. Fair. She's not the main issue with Malonga and why she is.
Yeah, if she was the next Wemby, you'd have already heard her name, and we wouldn't be talking about her on this specific episode.
The reason she's not the next Wemby is because the processing speed, the hand-eye coordination.
Well, there's a lot of reasons.
Help positioning and all that.
Because Wemby's like already an 8.
Yeah, but Malonga is fascinating just because there's so many ways this could go. Mm-hmm. Like she has the pathways to like develop as a shooter. Like the shot at 6'6", like it's projectable. her main issue is like the touch is like rough. The touch is like it's weird. It's a weird player.
I mean, I don't know if it's weird, honestly. I mean, she definitely is polarizing in terms of our grades. I don't think it's that complicated, to be honest. I don't know when she started playing basketball. You would have the answer to that. But,
yeah, so one thing I can provide on that is she did not play a ton of basketball just because she had a couple injuries, I believe, and also she played for Asvel before she went to Tarbes last season on loan. So she was like not playing like any minutes because like they had so many they have a ton of WNBA players on their teams. So she wouldn't actually get any reps. So like last season was like her first time like actually getting to play like rotation minutes. So I feel like she is behind, just like from a processing standpoint. And the other thing is when you compare her to other players in this class, you have to consider that she is playing the center position at the professional level, and like it's not like a fair comp, but like Cameron Brink was very raw from like a processing standpoint as a freshman. The processing speed, I feel like it can come. It is a worry, but I feel like
I don't think processing speed. Here's the thing: we have to. This is actually one of the things that I think we want to sort out in terms of development arcs. This is why it's good to have notes going back years for us to figure out what does and doesn't improve over time. Like these things, I don't think processing speed. I don't think improves a lot. I think what it results in does, but I think you can always see it. But here's the thing: I don't question the processing speed. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think it's necessarily standout. For me, she looks like a player who started playing basketball 3 or 4 years ago, and is just an insane athlete in that sense. So it's a lot of upside, it's a lot of downside, and it's basically about where you and I are finding the middle with this. For me, given what I just said, if it was technically true that she only picked up a basketball like 4 years ago, I know it's technically not. We can treat it like that if we want to. But like that just means that, what we normally look for in terms of the carrying traits, the signs, the little things here and there that mean that a player has, a feel for off-ball rotations, a feel for interior paint movement on offense, a feel for, release timing on rolls. These are the little things you have to pick up that don't really improve over time, but mostly just because they are kind of innate to how people tend to read the court past a certain age. And those are things that, for me, aren't there. So in a different player, I would just say no. But when it comes to her, again, given the athleticism and given just the fact that it looks overall so raw, like I'm willing to extend a benefit of the doubt. That's why I have a grade on her to put her on the board at all. Even that I'm much lower than you are. But for me, it's just, I think it's asking a lot of I think it's asking to put a lot of faith in development that I don't think we can to put her where you have her.
It's fair to be lower on her, but I think there's the reason you would be high on her is like you said, the athleticism. I think her floor is decent enough just because she is 6'6", definitely has like a +4 or 5 wingspan, and the rim running value. I think there's like some legit stuff there. Like how valuable is that archetype in terms of like the grand schemes of like this class? But I think the shot creation, the mid post stuff she has in moments, like you said, her positioning as a drop defender, what she can do defensively, like where does she play, is like it's all a question. Like
I mean, you can be that tall and still not be a WNBA caliber player, like Amani Stafford McGee or McGee Stafford. Like we've seen that. I'm not saying they're the same player. Obviously, that's not a comp I'd never make. But like, you can see how it ends up there.
You can see how it ends up there, which is why this is like the biggest gamble. Like I would understand taking her high in this class if you're Golden State or something like that. Like why not try?
Yeah, and we're also gonna have a lot more information on her because she played for Tarbes last year, so that's the top level of the French league. She's the loan's over. She's back at Asvel. I don't know if she's starting. Is she starting?
Yeah. She's like their. She might win MVP in France this year.
Yeah, so she's starting for Asvel. We'll see how it goes from there. We'll just get a lot more information. This is the sort of kind of downside that we have in doing a preseason board, is that we have to kind of call some shots that are going to look very different in 5 months.
Yeah, so let's get to our final break, and then we'll dive into some other players that are also super high level in this year's class. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can start with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, where you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Moving to some more prospects. We'll go a little bit quicker on some of these prospects. Anika Soltau.
Is it Anika or Annika? I'm genuinely wondering.
I'm pretty sure it's Anika.
Anyone out there speak Slovenian?
Anika Soltau, she's not Slovenian.
No, she's not. Wait, who did she play for? Because
she's German.
Oh, right.
Future Mike T draft pick.
I should know what a German. I think that makes her Annika.
It might be Annika. Yeah. It might be Annika.
Whatever. I have German.
Anyways,
I should know this.
Soltau was previously committed to Washington to play in college basketball. Decided to turn pro. She is playing for with Awa Fam for Guernica. She's playing in Spain. In her first game, she did not play a ton of minutes, like 3 minutes. She has like no professional experience. Like this is a raw prospect. She played in the 2nd or 3rd division in Germany last year.
2nd division, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 2nd division in Germany. She hasn't played like any like FIBA games really over the last year. She played U19s in 2023, but there's a lot of tools here from an athletic standpoint, the driving, the defensive versatility.
It's a lot of skills that you don't see from players of this size, and like the things that we like don't see from her, like we really don't see from her. Like she's not, well, yeah, she's not, hitting post up. She's not shooting threes, but
she shoots them.
She's not hitting them. But yeah, I mean, like of the tape that we basically have on her, of the times that she's been watching, like U19s, Germany 2023 summer, like you said, playing against France, playing against who else do we see her against? USA? Yeah, playing against France, playing against USA. She looked legitimately like one of the 2-3 best players on the court in those games. Right. Raise an eye again in the game in Portland, like I was talking about with Ajsa Sivka, where Sivka was probably like the 2nd best player on the court behind like Kennedy Smith or Kate Koval. Anika Soltau was right behind her. You see, this is like for someone who is a legitimate paint defender at 6'4", like you see some really, really advanced help defense rotations and awareness. You see some crazy ability to stick with wings on the drive in space. And so the question I think when you see that is, okay, where does the offense fit in? And I think it has looked good. I don't know if it's looked good in ways that like we feel good about, or at least I feel good about, like calling like consistent factors, like the way she drives, the way she draws fouls. It's good. I don't know if I have any faith in it continuing, but it just looks good. I'm wondering where you are on that actually. Like, do you agree with that overall assessment?
Yeah, I think her offense is the major question, and also how she plays up to like professional level and like how that translates. Because like right now we can obviously see like the defense playing at the youth level against her age group. She's the best defender on the court. Offensively, like you said, the driving looks good, and it's also like very impactful. Like it's not even just flashes. I think like this is something that in those tournaments it was like very often they were going to her on drives in the post. Not super effective there from 3. I don't buy the shooting. I don't really buy the free throw shooting. She doesn't shoot really at all for me. So it's like, how valuable can this player be? Like,
but on that note, I think like we have like some of the skills that we often talk about as like these are what we've learned to like the like real floor raising traits. Like I think her off ball movement, especially around the paint, I think it's great. I think it really plays up her ability to drive.
She has like all of like the very valuable big like rare skills, if that makes sense. Like the switching, the driving.
100%. I think her timing on releasing screens and rolling is excellent. Even if she has about the same ability to make contact at the level that like most 18-year-olds have, which is bad. But yeah, the feel is so good.
All of that's great. It's just about let's see how she plays up to playing some real professional competition. But the other prospect on our radar is Anastasia Kosu out of Russia. Kosu is a fascinating prospect just because because of the war and everything, Russia has not been able to participate in any...
Because of the war and everything.
Just because Russia has been banned from FIBA competitions. So Kosu, whenever she was 14 years old, she was playing in 16s.
Yeah, she was 14.
She won MVP. Yeah,
she won MVP. Was 16 in U19s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2021 she played in U19 Euros while she was 16.
And she's
really fucking good.
And she was playing against
again.
Who they have on that team, like Shai Wilson.
They played against Canada. Canada had Shai Wilson. Canada had Tara Wallach. Canada had
Letitia Meir.
Meir. They had Emma Cable. So a bunch of like Power 5. Well, back when.
Yvonne Ejim.
Yeah, a bunch of Power 5 level players.
A bunch of legitimately.
Or not even level, like legitimate Power 5 all conference players.
Yeah, and she was good, and now playing for the best team in Russia. We saw her play against Kayla Thornton, and the funny thing about her...
And Mo Billings.
The funny thing about her team is that she's better than Megan Walker. Like, Megan Walker, UConn legend, Megan Walker.
Atlanta Dream legend.
She plays more minutes than Megan Walker and has to clean up for every mistake Megan Walker makes. Thus,
oh God, jeez. But the only player that the only player I can remember any coach even specifically Gino they're shit talking their own player on draft night, basically.
Kosu is
except for Neil Ivey with Jewel Lloyd. Good God. Neil Ivey. Sorry, Muffet McGraw. Neil Ivey's a nice person. She wouldn't do that.
When Kosu's playing basketball, you know that basketball league where it's on trampolines?
Yes.
That's what it looks like she's playing on. I don't understand.
Right, she's playing with legitimate former WNBA players who, not great, but fine WNBA players. She's playing with Alex Bentley. She's playing with
someone that was better than Asia Wilson as a prospect.
Okay then. She's playing against Alex Bentley. She's playing with Alex Bentley. There's someone else on the team, but I can't remember who was a W player. They're playing against Huskers legend Promise Mukamara, playing against Kayla Thornton, playing against Mo Billings. And again, she's not just the best athlete on the court. She is blowing everyone else out of the water. I don't want to assume, but I feel like a fair portion of our listeners watched UConn and remember watching UConn from 2015 to 2018. You remember how much faster and longer and taller and just in every direction how much more Gabby Williams moved than everyone else in college, even on her own team. That is what this looks like. You have her slithering around cross screens in the post and then actually leaping 5 feet to close the gap and turn and curve around the player to deflect the entry in one motion. She's going up and just demolishing Kayla Thornton in rim protection.
The other thing is she has, like you said before we were recording, she has Angel Reese leveled rebounding mismatch impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She will start behind the shoulder of a genuinely very good 6'6" center, one of Russia's top rebounders, and will out jump her straight up for the ball. She's not angling for position and doing very good subtle push outs and kind of arm bars the way that Angel does. And Angel's again, elite rebounder, possibly the best in W history. I'm not taking that as a slight to her, but with Kosu, it's just she jumps and she gets the goddamn ball.
The other thing is Kosu defensively and just I just think the impact. how she plays ball screens, the timing she has, like being able to play like both like the passer, play the role, but also play the ball handler at the same time. There's like a bunch of unique skills. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's really tough because of like I said at the beginning of the show, like since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and especially the internment, the illegal detainment of Brittany Griner, players just don't go over there anymore. Other than for some reason Kayla Thornton, and also like I understand why Mo Billings was there, but for some reason Kayla Thornton, and so you know the talent level in Russia dropped off from being like by far the best league in the world to like it's effectively a second division level league in as far as your leagues go right now. So you gotta really take the competition with a grain of salt, but like depending on how much salt you take it, or depending on how many grains you take it with, like this is a like an all-decade defensive prospect.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want to see a little more of what she does in space, but there's something there.
Yeah, it just depends how much interest she has in the W, really all of that kind of stuff. We'll try to get some clarity on that and see like really just if the offense can develop as far as like being able to do anything without like on the ball. Like can she drive, like can create drives, can she can create a couple drives, but like can she actually be like an impact offensive player? Can she become a confident, like at least like some type of shooter ish?
Yeah, I mean like she's a really good cutter and she's a really solid finisher, both through contact and just drawing fouls in general. So like that probably plays up, but like the question is, can she do more with the ball?
Yeah, and just in our international class, the other prospect we'll talk about is Marine Dersus out of France. She played alongside Lily Kahn last year for Angers. This season, larger role. She's like in the rotation firmly. With Dersus, she's like a 5'9" off-ball guard, as you would describe her. Like she's like not a traditional point guard. Like she's not a plus passer right now.
She's not a point guard, period.
She's not a passer. Yeah, she's not a point guard. Also, like her value comes like as a driver, being able to split tight spaces. The shooting is very good. Like the mechanics are good. They're compact, projectable. Can she defend at a W level? Not really sure there.
I have this impression that every French guard named Marine is just variants of the exact same player. This is like how I was never into Pokemon enough to get this analogy correct, but it's like how Mew and Mewtwo are like molded from like the same thing. Or like, you know what I'm talking about? Link would know what I'm talking about. He's adorable.
Everybody's just Marine.
Marine Fatou or Marine Fatou, Marine Johannes, Marine Dersus. Like again, we're just talking about the same player, but like you change the sliders a little here and there. One of them can pass. One of them can pass. One of them can hit movement threes. One of them can drive better than the other two. Like, but you know, none of them can defend. All of them are going to take too many pull-up threes. You get the point.
Yeah, Dersus actually does not take a bunch of pull-up threes. She's just kind of like driving.
I saw her taking a few.
In comparison, she drives so much. Like basically in every single FIBA youth event, she shot like 55% from two, which is like insane.
Driver. She draws,
and she's also like a below rim finisher. Like there's like no vertical pop really here either.
I mean, there's about as much vertical pop as you'd expect from like a 5'9" teenager.
It's basically
she just has such an advanced feel on the ball getting downhill.
So yeah, it's kind of like how she bounces off contact too, just kind of finishes there.
So we'll see what happens there.
Just the depth, like we'll talk about it more when we get to our full draft board on this class. But you're getting prospects that we had mid-first round grades on a couple years ago in 2023 in the late second in this class.
God, I hate that phrase, mid-first round grades. I get the point.
Where we ranked them on our board was mid-first round.
I'm not telling you have to change it, but you just know, you know, it's my shtick.
Mid first round rankings. Now we got mid second round rankings that are generational defensive wing prospects that can jump out of the gym. So we'll see how this class ends up after the season. Thanks for Women's Basketball, your first listen every day. join the team at the next week for continued coverage of women's basketball. In the middle of finals, the WNBA finals, we're talking about some Russian, Slovenian, French league prospects. This is what we do here.
No one's more on brand than we are.
Nobody. So have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.